And Eric, the power company chief says scrapping that contract will delay work by 10 to 12 weeks. 70% of Puerto Rico still without power. More than a month after Hurricane Maria hit, officials had been pledging to restore most of the power by mid-December. President Trump, meantime, signing a $36 billion aid measure last week on top of a $50 billion already approved. Joining me now is Bobby Myers. He's an emergency disaster services director for the Salvation Army. He serves Eastern Pennsylvania and Delaware and is just back from Puerto Rico. And we're going to be showing some of your pictures, Mr. Myers, throughout the interview. We're going to get to your mission in a moment. But first, if you could start by describing the situation. What did you see and experience?
I mean, it's a significant disaster relief operation that's underway. It's unique in that really no part of the country is untouched by Maria's wrath, and so it's a very heavy lift operation for all those involved, whether they be government or non-government organizations.
Okay, and I understand. I want you to break it down for me. I need you. When you stepped the foot on the ground there, what did you see? How did you feel when you saw what you saw?
I mean, you see it as soon as you step off the plane in the airport. There was literally thousands of people trying to get off the island when we arrived. Some of them have been tourists that were stranded. Some of them were folks that had relatives back in the States that could provide a more comfortable setting for them longer term. And then the minute you leave, you see the devastation. You see it flying in, actually, on the plane, the buildings that were damaged. And you realize right away it's a different type of disaster relief effort that's needed.
Have you ever seen such a sight?
I've been to a lot of disasters, including Katrina, the earthquakes in Nepal, and it rivals both of those with the level of damage and impact to lives in particular.
Now, Mr. Myers, let's talk about your mission there in Puerto Rico. How are your teams helping?
So our primary mission focus was feeding and hydration, and so we had 10 facilities in Puerto Rico prior to the storm, and all those facilities were providing feeding in various forms, everything from hot meals that folks could come get to meal boxes that were being produced that we could be distributing throughout the communities that have been impacted. Then we put a particular emphasis on water distribution while we were there. A lot of folks realized that food might be hard to come by because of resources getting in and some of the impacts to agriculture from the storm. But what a lot of folks may not realize is that water is one of the most significant needs that they have. A lot of well water has been impacted to where it's not drinkable. And then a lot of folks that have city water, municipal water provided don't have that because they have no ability to pump it with the power outage it's experienced. So we did a pretty heavy lifting operation for getting water distributed to those in need and started shifting the focus from distributing of bottled water and jugs of water to water hydration, filter hydration systems while we were there to help provide a more longer-term sustainable impact to those in need.
And you said that you have multiple locations in Puerto Rico. Were you able to get those supplies to all of those locations?
Yeah, by the time we had arrived, which was about a week or week and a half after the storm had impacted, many of the roads were passable. Most of our facilities are located on the outskirts of the island. It covers the entirety of the island from the far eastern to the far western regions. The most difficult, hard to reach areas that we impacted weren't areas where we had facilities, but the mountain areas in the central part of the state, both because of trees and wires down, as well as with the heavy rains that they've been experiencing over the last 2 or 3 weeks, a lot of mudslides and partial road blockages that were just further hindering what was already a difficult relief operation.
So once again, of course, you know, we applaud your efforts and wish that you could get to everyone. But what I'm hearing, again, you've got 70% of the island still without power, and it appears that that is impacting your mission. And so it's my understanding that you're telling me that you were not able to get to some of those outlying areas.
Yes, certainly we make every effort to get to every area that requests services. We coordinate very closely with our government partners as well, and so areas that we might not have been able to reach as an agency, we worked with partners in the government side that maybe do have resources to reach some of those harder to reach areas. So the goal was certainly always to provide services to wherever the area was that had been in need. It may not have been Salvation Army providing the physical transportation of goods, but a lot of times we worked with government partners or other relief partners to be able to provide those resources that we might have had available to those that were needing them most.
Well, Mr. Myers, that last question was certainly not to in any way discount what you have done there and your valiant and efforts and hard work. Is just to point out that there are people who really do need to be reached, and we want to make sure that they're getting the very basics that they do need. So again, we thank you, Mr. Bobby Myers, Emergency Disaster Services Director for Eastern Pennsylvania with the Salvation Army. Thank you very much, sir, and continued your hard work there. The people very much are in need.
Thank you.